Shalom, and welcome to On the House, the podcast where you'll find everything you need to know about purchasing real estate in Israel. Hosted by Debbie Goldfisher, real estate consultant and founder and CEO of BuyItInIsrael.com. In each episode, Debbie sits down with leading industry experts to explore market trends, legal and tax issues, smart buying strategies, neighborhoods across Israel, and more. All this is On the House, helping you make the right move.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the fourth episode of Season 8 of On the House, the Israel Real Estate Podcast. If you've been following along, you'll know that this season is all about renting in Israel. Whether you're a tenant looking to rent someone else's apartment or a landlord renting out your own apartment. So far, we've covered a lot of ground together. In episode 1, we spoke with Rivka Leibowitz, certified financial planner and founder of the Living Financially Smarter in Israel Facebook group, about the financial considerations of renting versus buying. And in episodes 2 and 3, we hosted a double session with advocate Avi Goldberg, who gave us a comprehensive overview of the legal rights and responsibilities of both landlords and tenants in Israel. But today, we're going to take it a step further and talk about the management and maintenance of rental properties in Israel. And as we did in the previous episodes, we're going to look at it from both perspectives: the landlord who owns the property and wants peace of mind, and the tenant who wants to know who to turn to when something breaks or needs attention. To help us explore this topic, I'm thrilled to welcome Avi Goldberg, founder and CEO of City of Gold Apartments, one of Jerusalem's leading property management firms. Avi started City of Gold back in 2014 with just one single apartment, and today he and his team managed more than 300 units in Jerusalem, offering long and short-term rentals, full-service maintenance, and hands-on management for property owners from around the world. This is such an important topic, especially for people who are thinking about buying a home in Israel but don't plan to live in it full-time. Whether it's for rental income or for vacation use a few times a year, property management is a key piece of the puzzle. And for tenants, it's important to understand who is responsible for what once you move in. So Avi, before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge and thank you publicly. You've just returned from another round of Miluim, reserve duty here in Israel. On behalf of Am Yisrael, I want to say thank you. We are so grateful for your service, and I truly appreciate the time that you're taking to be with us today.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Before we get started, Avi, tell us a little bit about how you got into this business. I'm always intrigued and so impressed by young Anglos who come to Israel and build themselves up and succeed.
Great question. So when I was learning in Israel for my year, my parents came from abroad and they rented an apartment. And this was before Airbnb and all these websites were popular. So they rented an apartment, and it was such a good deal. For a couple $100 a night, they got this big apartment, 3 bedrooms.
Where was it?
It was in Ambercrefane.
Nice.
And I said to the owner, this is amazing. Like, how do we, I can tell more people about it. So I spoke to the owner. I said, 10% of the rentals, I'll bring you more people. The owner actually said no. But it did give me the idea. And through connections, I was able to get to one apartment that was willing to let me find renters, gave me a small commission. That's great. I started it like that in the vacation rental business.
So you had a very, very successful yeshiva year.
Well, it grew very, very, very slow. I'm talking less than an apartment in a year for the first couple of years. It's a very, very tough business to grow. It takes a long time. But that's how I got in. One apartment at a time.
Incredible. Okay. Let's get started, Avi. Let's say someone has just purchased a beautiful new home in Israel, but they're not quite ready to make Aliyah yet. For now, they plan to come a few times a year, maybe for the Chagim and family smachot, and the rest of the time, the apartment will sit empty. They've just received the keys, got bare walls, empty rooms. They call on your services. Before we talk about managing the property, can you help us in terms of, how do you help in terms of setting the place up? Let's say furniture, appliances, closets, etc.
So the first conversation I would have with this client is what their goal is with the apartment. Do they want the apartment as purely as an investment? Or do they want to make it their home in Israel and use it while they're here, and when they're not here, rent it out? Because that's a very different approach to how you would make the next steps, how you would furnish the apartment versus leave it unfurnished.
Sure.
I have many clients that I speak to on the phone, and in their mind, they're going to rent it out short term. After a short conversation with them, they say they have no real reason to use it. They're happy to stay at one of their kids when they come, or they'll stay at a hotel when they come. They don't need the apartment. And then the answer is to leave it unfurnished, rent it out long term until they're ready to make aliyah, then take it over and furnish it and make it their own and do what they want. And then I have some people who I speak to on the phone, and they say, no, Avi, we just bought our home in Israel, and we're going to come 3 times a year, and we're going to stay in that home no matter what. And then the rest of the time, rent it, and whatever we can make, but we just bought our home in Israel. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on which person we're talking to.
Okay. So let's say that they do want to kit it out. They need appliances, they need furniture, they need closets, because as we know, new apartments in Israel do not come with closets, bare walls. Do you help them with this?
So different aspects we would help them with. Certainly appliances, stuff like that. We have all the providers. When it comes to furnishing, we can definitely advise if they, for example, want to rent it out for short term. We can advise on which type of furniture is better for a short term rental. But we always recommend if you're making it your home, and we always recommend that you bring in a designer to help you pick out the furniture, to help you figure out exactly what you're looking for. Or go to the store yourself, and in the store yourself, you'll find what you like. We're happy to coordinate deliveries, meet the deliveries,
that's
stuff like that.
That's important to know. Okay.
Because oftentimes you buy a couch is coming from Italy. It's going to come in 2 months from now. You're not here to receive it, so we're happy to meet all the deliveries, get the apartment set up. We don't like to pick furniture, just because it's very personal, and there's designers for that. There's lots of people that specialize in that, and that's not quite our specialty.
Okay, that's good. It's important to know your strengths. So, as I said, in this scenario, let's say the owners are not going to be living here during the year, so the apartment will be empty most of the time, but they don't want to leave it unattended. So what exactly do you do for them in terms of looking after the property and making sure that everything is in order while they're out of the country?
Okay, so most of our apartments, or many of our apartments, are this type of apartment where it's just the owners that use it, maybe a friend, family, but it's mainly property inspections. So we carry out a weekly inspection of the apartment.
Okay.
Each apartment has a custom checklist. So if there's a history of a leak from the upstairs neighbor every time it rains, that goes on the checklist. The checklists are very dynamic. They change by season, by apartment, whatever's going on in the apartment. So a manager of ours carries out the inspection.
How often is this?
Weekly.
Amazing.
Any issue that comes up in the apartment, you get an email from your manager with a picture, a video. This is what's going on. This is what we found. You approve it. We take care of the repair. And then we just send you a confirmation the repair was taken care of. That's in terms of our weekly inspections. Mail is collected at the apartment, brought to our office. Any bills that need to be paid, we pay on your credit card. We make sure all your bills are taken care of. And before your arrival, we have a cleaning checklist for your arrival. It's a very, very detailed and specific checklist. Each client is very different when it comes to cleaning and how they want the apartment prepared. So we would go ahead and we would carry out that cleaning list, the pre-arrival checklist, exactly how you want the apartment prepared. While you're in the apartment, we have a 24-hour-a-day emergency call system. So 2 o'clock in the morning, your power goes out. You call your manager. Even if your manager's not working at that time, the call's automatically forwarded to the manager on call, and there's always someone there for assistance.
Amazing. So once again, every property has their dedicated manager.
Correct.
From your team.
Correct.
So how big is your team?
We have a team of about 35 employees full-time.
Unbelievable.
Which are managers, maintenance staff, cleaning staff.
I was going to say it's very hard to find cleaners in Israel.
That's hard to find good cleaners. That's why they work for us full-time.
So they work, I see. So you always have cleaners. You don't need to worry somebody moves out or
that's correct.
Someone's coming and there's no one to call on. Excellent. And in terms of communication, you said it's all done by email?
Yes. So we do not like working on WhatsApp. We find that WhatsApps can get lost, or in the middle of the night, someone sends a WhatsApp. In the morning, it's already on the bottom of the list. You didn't see it. We take our lists and we take our owner requests very, very seriously. Fantastic. So anything that's ever asked is always added to a list and taken care of.
Amazing. Okay. So we spoke about the weekly inspections. You pay all the bills, you said. You take care of those. I'm assuming most of them are done online now, or the Horat Keva standing orders.
So it's not so simple because a lot of the U.S. clients no longer have bank accounts here because it's not fun to have a bank account in Israel.
Complicated.
So what they do is they pay bills on their American credit cards. Now, as of the last couple years, American credit cards, you can no longer set up direct debit from your American credit card to pay your bills. You can't pay it on the Horat Kev anymore. So we have someone in our office that calls up every month and pays it on clients' credit cards to make sure that the bills are paid and that people do not have to have bank accounts here, because a lot of clients do not want.
That's great. Okay. And in terms of the maintenance and repairs, so if there's a plumbing issue, electrical issue, you said that's your team come and take care of that.
So we do have our own in-house team that we'll use depending on what it is. We also have electricians, plumbers, maintenance, air conditioning maintenance people. Anything you need, we have. Some we do in-house, some we outsource. It just depends on the problem and the scale of the problem.
Fantastic. So it's a totally headache-free service.
The idea is that you buy this apartment. Once you get the keys, there's really no headache related to the apartment at all.
How beautiful.
We're not a concierge service. We don't do any reservations for restaurants or shows. We are everything about the apartment, though. Your guests will never have an issue with the apartment.
Amazing. And you focus in Yerushalayim, right?
We focus in Yerushalayim, yeah.
So what sort of areas would you say are most popular among your clients? Where are your 300 units, you said? Where
300 units.
Where are they located?
So our office is on King David. We have a lot in the King David area. German colonies, very popular. Makor Chaim is becoming much more popular. Baka is very popular. Those are really our areas. Nachlot, Central.
You're going to have a lot coming up in Arnona. There's a lot being built there.
A lot of construction.
Many people buying.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So you mentioned already the preparal of the apartment before the owners arrive or their family or guests. So what exactly do you do?
So each owner is different. And that's part of the complication of managing a business like this is every single owner has a different request of how they want the apartment prepared for them.
Give us an example.
Here's a great example. We had just taken over for another company. And this was back in the beginning of the business. And I was the one meeting every client at the time. So I remember it was, I think, before Sukkot, we had just taken over, and I'm going from client to client, just meeting everyone for the first time. And we had prepared the apartments for them, and I go into the first meeting, and I'm talking to the owner, and they were telling me how amazing it is that they came in. They've never seen the apartment so clean. And the towels on the bed was such a nice touch and a nice feature, and they absolutely loved it. Great. Okay, good. Noted.
Beautiful.
I go to the next meeting. And the owner was livid. She was livid. This is not a hotel. This is my house. I never want to see towels on my bed like
Hilarious.
this. And it was like an eye-opening experience for me of we're managing people's homes. There's no standard. And this is what I say now to my people. We don't have a standard. We're managing people's homes. You want your home set up this way? We'll set it up that way. You want your home set up that way? We'll set it up that way. So that's just an example.
So I love that. It's a customized service depending on the needs.
Very customized to the point where we have pictures of exactly how each owner wants the apartment.
Fantastic.
Where they want the hot water, some people want paper towels out, some people don't want paper towels out. Every detail we have documented.
Amazing. Love that. What about grocery shopping and stocking up before the owners arrive?
Yeah, so some owners have a standing list. Like we have some owners that we know they want 2% milk with a certain hashgacha, and they want a loaf of bread in the fridge every time. Mm-hmm. And some owners will send us a small list before they come. We don't really do unless someone specifically asks, like a major grocery shop or something like that. Right.
Just like the basics to get them started.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. I guess before the Chagim is a very busy time for you.
Oh, Chagim is a party.
And then all of your workers are getting ready for the Chagim as well.
Everyone's coming, and everyone comes at the exact same time.
Oh, gosh.
It's a lot of pressure. But we work all year so that the problems don't come up right as people are coming during the Chagim. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, let's say comes Sukkot time, we'll be ready in advance. Everything will be in order in the apartments, and we'll have one representative from every department sitting in a different neighborhood. Just waiting for a problem.
Yeah, but you can't buy the milk 3 weeks before.
No.
Okay. What about, let's say, emergency support? Something happens. I mean, you mentioned already in the middle of the night, people are on call, but to what extent is this service available?
So this is something that we've spent a lot of time on in the last couple of years. On one hand, it's very important for us as a company and for our clients, that our staff stays the same and that you get to know your manager and they're not gone 6 months later. So for me as the CEO, it was how do I keep my staff happy, and the workday ends. So they can't be answering their phones every night, 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Sure.
We'll lose them. At the same time, I just came in and my lights aren't working, or there's an issue in the apartment. We have to give them service. So we've recently set up, it's a couple years now, a call system so that each owner has a manager that is their manager. That is the number they call day or night. We ask keep emergencies only at night. Mm-hmm. Don't call at night something that's not an emergency.
Sure.
But if there is an emergency, you just call the same number. If your manager doesn't answer, it will ring forward to the manager who's on call, and we also have a maintenance person on call. Mm-hmm. So Erev Sukkot, everyone's trying to shower at the same time, and the shower's backing up. We don't have to call around to a plumber and beg him to come out. No, we have our own plumber. He works for us full time. He comes out, he fixes it.
Wow, fantastic service. Let's say somebody wants to improve their property in some way. They want to add a pergola or an electric car charger, or even just paint. What do you manage those sorts of improvement projects?
Yes, so we do have a project management feature for sure. We definitely offer project management.
Do everything. Unbelievable.
I wouldn't say we do everything. There are definitely things we don't do. Meaning,
Right.
if you decide you wanted to renovate your apartment, we would set you up. We would recommend designers. At that point, we would hand you the key back.
Right.
Say, right now you're working with them. You don't need our services. We will step back in as soon as they're done, and we will manage. So there are things we don't do.
Okay.
But a project like a pergola painting, so we do manage
But
projects.
so you don't have to move out. You don't have to vacate the apartment or empty it of the contents.
Correct. So what we do is we would first understand what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to painters, for example, there's painters that are extremely, extremely detailed, incredible painters, and they're expensive. And there's painters that are significantly cheaper, may not do quite as good of a job. So we'd first understand what you're looking for. Now, we know our clients. So an existing client for a long time, we already know who to start recommending and discussing. But for a new client, something like that, we'd understand what they're looking for. Once we have an idea of what they're looking for, we would get estimates from a couple relevant suppliers. We'd tell them about our experiences with each supplier. Together with them, we pick the supplier. We oversee the project. We make sure it's done to the standard that's requested. And then afterwards, once the owner arrives, if there is feedback, whatever it is, we would take care of it with the supplier directly. Mm-hmm. That goes for painting, gardening, pergolas, as you mentioned. Yeah, all those projects we take care of for sure.
Gardening is not one of the team members? You don't know?
No. We for a long time been debating to add gardening, but it's a very, very certainly in Israel with the weather, and there's expert gardeners, and we're going to stick with them.
Mm-hmm. And I would assume most of your apartments do not have gardens. Am I wrong?
We have a fair amount of gardens.
Interesting.
We have a fair amount, because even larger balconies, people are planting. With planters and gardens, it makes the whole apartment brighter.
Sure. That's interesting. Out of interest, where are your clients from generally?
New York, New Jersey.
America?
Yeah, vast majority are from America.
Any in Israel?
A few of our long-term rental managers own multiple apartments in Israel, but other than that, no.
Okay, let's talk about another common scenario. In this case, owners of the apartment are also not ready to make Aliyah, and maybe they bought the apartment purely as an investment, so they decide to rent it out long-term. Do you help them find tenants?
Yes. Okay. So here's how we would work with long-term. First of all, owners that buy long-term, we always recommend not to furnish. Because when you furnish the apartment, then there's a fridge and there's a washing machine and dryer. Those are not standard in an Israeli rental apartment, and they also become your problem. So the washing machine is broken, and it's your washing machine. Now you got to pay for the technician. It's more maintenance. It's more costs.
More headache.
It's more headache. And oftentimes the tenant that's moving in has their own washing machine.
So funny because
now they got to find storage.
Right. People often ask me if I rent my apartment furnished with appliances, can I get more money? And I say, actually, in some cases, it's less desirable for the tenant.
Yeah. So I would always recommend not furnishing that apartment.
If you want to rent it out long term.
If you want to rent it out long term, correct. Less headaches and less things to deal with.
Okay. So how do you market the property to attract quality long term renters?
So first things first is it depends on the apartment. There's some apartments that are very easy rentals. You put them up online, student apartments, stuff like that. You rent them in no time. It's not a big deal. Higher end apartments, we always recommend a realtor. Realtors specialize in this. There's realtors that have connections to some of the news networks, the UN, places like that, where they're able to rent the apartment to them much easier. So depending on the apartment, we might recommend to the owner, hey, you just bought through so-and-so realtor. You should ask them about renting it. We'll meet the renter. We definitely want to be involved in the process. We want to meet the renter. We want to give our 2 cents on whether we think this is a good person to rent to or not.
Fantastic.
But we don't always rent the apartment. It just depends on
Sure.
type of it.
So how do you screen potential renters, make sure it's a good fit, both for the property and the owner?
First things first, we always like to talk to a previous landlord. So most people will be able to give us the information of a previous landlord. And then we talk to them. Obviously, the landlord's not going to tell you everything, but you can get an idea from the conversation of how that went. And then there's the large organizations. When you're renting to the U.S. Embassy and places like that, it's a lot less of a concern because they deal with most of the issues directly. So it really depends on who the person you're coming.
What do you mean renting to the U.S. Embassy? You mean the tenants are consulates or something?
Correct. Or they work for the consulate.
Okay, but that's not so common. Most people are not working for the U.S. consulate.
In the higher end apartments, a lot of them are being rented to that or to some sort of organization. But again, in my opinion, there's nothing better than the face-to-face meeting.
Sure.
You get to meet someone, talk to them, understand. Also, it's like TUM TPO. What is that in English? Just making sure everyone's on the same page. That this is the apartment. They're not going to renovate. Sometimes the people will come in with all these grand ideas. I want this apartment. I want you to add this and change that. And just make sure everyone's on the same page of what exactly is going to be changed and what's not.
So do you handle the lease agreement and the renewals?
No. So that has to be done through a lawyer. But usually the lawyer that you bought through will be happy to do the rental agreement. If not, we can recommend a lawyer that will do the rental agreement, but we do not do rental agreements.
Great. In terms of the rent, do you collect the rent from the tenants?
So we're happy to collect the rent. It can't go through our bank account. It's got to go straight to the owner's bank account for tax purposes.
Right.
There are tax advantages in Israel for an individual renting out their apartment long term. Just it's a lower tax rate. So you don't want it going through a company or anything like that. You want the rent being paid directly to the owner. Most rent is paid these days by post-dated checks. So you get 12 post-dated checks. You can deposit them all into the account the day you receive them, and then the bank credits your account the day it's due.
How do you deal with late rent payments or tenants who breach the contract?
That's why we use lawyers for our agreements. So a breach contract would go to the lawyer. It happens to be very, very, very rare that these issues come up. Part of that is because we like to meet the people before we get involved with them, and speak to the previous landlord. But it's almost never happened to us, thank God.
Good. Okay, so the tenants move out. What happens? How do you turn over to the new tenants? What steps do you take to prepare?
So many agreements will have in them that you get the apartment painted and you have to return it freshly painted. So either the tenant paints it and we have to just approve that it was painted properly, or the tenant will say, I don't have anyone to paint it, just paint it and send us the bill. Whatever it is, you make sure the apartment's freshly painted, clean, ready to go. And depending on the type of apartment, either we list it or we have the realtor list it and we start re-renting it.
That's great. So from the tenant's perspective, what does it mean if a property is managed by a professional company rather than the landlord directly?
It has its advantages and it could have its disadvantages.
Tell us about it.
The advantage for sure is that as opposed to someone who doesn't really work in the field, doesn't have the right people in place, it could be your toilet's leaking and they're calling a plumber they don't know and it takes them a couple days to get out there and no one really knows what they're looking at and they get a problem or the plumber's bad and then your toilet's leaking for 2 weeks while the landlord's trying to fix it out and the landlord's not doing anything like
deliberately.
Right. It's just he doesn't know. He doesn't. He has an extra apartment, and this is what he does with it. Same way, if there was a leak in his house, it would also drag on 2 weeks. So that could be a disadvantage to having a individual landlord. So then, if you have a property management company, you know that they have the people in place, the right people in place. Where it becomes a little more complicated is that it's not always our decision. So yes, a little leaky toilet, boom, I can have a plumber out there in no time, have it fixed. But bigger issues, I can't approve, right? I have to get it approved by the owner. So it could be I come to the owner's on vacation, it takes him 2-3 days to answer. So sometimes it could delay things a little bit because there's a middleman that the property manager that has to deal with it. But I would say overall, if I were recommending to a friend, you have two options of rentals. One option has a property management company. One doesn't, and it's a good property management company. I think the service you get will be so much better because this is what they do.
Sure.
This is a profession.
Right.
It's not just someone on the side who's busy doing his own job, and now he's got to deal with your complaints in the apartment.
So many landlords, they just bought an investment property and they think it's a passive income with no work, but it does require attention. Okay. So who do the tenants call when there's an issue? You or the landlord?
So the way we work is most of our landlords are pretty much anonymous. Their name is on the lease, but that is it. These they do not.
There's no contact.
The owner does not want anything to do with these people. Now, sometimes they have a tenant for 2-3 years. They want to meet them when they come. Very nice. We're happy to facilitate that. Oftentimes, they don't want it. They don't want it. Never call. Never. They don't want the headache. They hired us to avoid the headache completely. They want our advice. They want us to. They do not want to hear from the tenants.
Just give me the money.
Just give me the money. Keep my tenants happy. Keep my apartment in good shape. And that's all they want.
So the relationship is really with you.
Yeah. Most of the tenants will never meet the landlord.
Interesting. So who pays you?
The apartment owner always pays us. We never.
Tenant doesn't pay anything.
Correct. Always the apartment owner.
I mean, obviously, they're paying for it indirectly in their rent, but that's between.
Yes and no. Landlord. Yes and no, because even if there's no renter, we still charge a management fee. So it's really the owner's peace of mind that.
Okay, good. And how do you handle maintenance requests? Is there a standard response time for urgent versus non-urgent requests?
We like to have a quick response time for everything. We tell our owners, and that's really, it's us talking to the owners, which is really the delay, because we have the people in the field. What we tell our owners is if there's something that's urgent that needs to be done, we're going to start dealing with it, and we'll update you when we can. So if a tenant calls and it's a 1-bathroom apartment and the toilet's not flushing, the plumber's going to be there before that phone is hung up.
Sure.
We'll email you, we'll update you, but we're going to do what we have to do to get their toilet running. If a tenant calls about they want to upgrade something in the apartment or then we'll always get in touch with the owner first.
Not an emergency.
And we tell the tenant it's not an emergency. But we like to, the most expensive part of a long-term rental is the turnover, and we like to avoid unnecessary turnover. So if a tenant's happy in the apartment, the owner's happy with the tenant, to have a toilet leaking for 2 or 3 days for no reason is going to make the tenant upset. It's not worth it.
Sure, absolutely. So when a tenant moves out, how do you handle the inspection and damage assessment?
So again, this is why we love the unfurnished apartments, because the damage is there's not much to damage. That's what's so nice about these apartments.
They paint, they clean, and
because there's nothing else there. Now, the furnished apartments, they're a much more detailed checklist. We have pictures before, pictures after, and we try to match up exactly what was done. But again, damage, thank God, in these apartments is very, very rare.
Okay. I'm thinking now there's a third common scenario, which we're seeing more and more of, and that is when someone buys a home in Israel and instead of committing to a long-term rental, they decide to list it as a short-term rental, what we often refer to as Airbnb style. That way, the apartment is available to them when they or their family need it, and the rest of the time, it works for them and brings in revenue. So before we get into this, I just want to point out that there are laws and regulations surrounding short-term rentals and running an Airbnb in Israel. We're not going to go into all of that now, although we did touch on it last week with attorney Avi Goldberg. Most importantly, before you decide to go this route, make sure to check it with your building's Vad Bayit, that's the house committee, to confirm that short-term rentals are actually allowed. And also from a tax perspective, there may be important implications to consider.
Agreed.
With that in mind, Avi, tell us how City of Gold helps property owners successfully manage short-term rentals.
Okay. Let me start by saying that, in my opinion, and you'll hear 100 people give 100 different opinions on this. In my opinion, the vacation rental business is only good for an owner who really wants to use their apartment. As a pure investment, you're better off renting long-term, partially the tax purposes that you mentioned, but also just think about the last 5 years, what's gone on with COVID.
The risks are very high.
The risks, the COVID, now the war, flights, the ups, the downs. there's also a lot of expenses involved in short-term rentals.
I'm sure a lot of people come here, they stay in Airbnbs and they say, well, I could do this. I can buy an apartment and rent it out and look how much we paid. But when you think about it over the whole year.
And with the Airbnb culture, the way that it works with reviews, you end up just doing a lot more repairs than you would have. When you have a long-term rental, they move in month one, there's a couple little repairs, but then they get used to it. It becomes their home, and there's a lot less. Airbnbs oftentimes have many more repairs, much more frequent. All the bills are on you. So it's not I'm going to make tons of money doing this. That's not the reason to do it.
It's not as attractive as it sounds.
But I have lots of clients who they come with the attitude of, this is my home in Israel. I have a mortgage on the place, or I want to cover my costs. And for them, it's really perfect. It's an amazing, amazing setup.
And does it cover the costs?
Oftentimes, yes. It should certainly cover the costs. It has to be the right person, meaning it's going to lose a little bit of the being your home in Jerusalem because other people are going to be there. Now, we work very hard to build systems that will make it feel like your home. So we have pictures of how everything is set up, how you want it when you come, every single drawer in the kitchen, every cabinet, so that, yes, it was used 20 times over the year by random people, but the beds are made exactly how you want them, with the pillows at the right angle, and the big cups on the right side, the small cups on the left side.
Is this your personality, or is it
everything? This is learned. This is learned over years.
Love it. Amazing.
So you do come back to your apartment, and you still feel like you're in your home, even though, yes, there'll be an extra scratch on the wall. There'll be
there's wear and tear.
There's wear and tear. People used it, but it's definitely doable. Now, we as a company take care of everything start to finish. We have our own site we list it on, and that site syncs with Airbnb, VRBO, many other sites. We take care of the payments. We collect payments. We deal with laundry, cleaning, check-in, check-out, issues while the tenant's there. Again, a tenant has no connection with the owner. There's zero conversation. You as an owner have zero headache from this. Again, it's not a huge money maker. It's not super lucrative. But if you're looking to cover costs, or you're debating between two apartments, and one you want to rent out to cover your costs, and the other one you're not going to be able to rent out, it definitely can help cover costs. There's no question about it.
That's great. So it's interesting. A lot of people who are looking to buy, they have in mind, we'll rent it out as an Airbnb, and therefore they're looking for a better location. What would you say are the most popular or the most important features in a location if you want to rent it as an Airbnb?
So that's a great question. On one hand, the area we're sitting in right now on King David Street, Mamilla.
Can't get better.
It can't get better. However, when you're in a time like COVID or a war, these areas where the tourists are all coming are actually not quite as popular as Arnona and Baca, because people oftentimes coming to Arnona and Baca are coming to visit kids, or coming to visit their parents who are living there. Or we have families that have kind of like become part of us, that they came when their daughter got engaged, and then they stayed in the same apartment when she had her first baby, and they constantly are coming back to those apartments. So those apartments that are not necessarily where the tourists are, but people coming to visit their family, and they come back to the same apartment every year, those are people that are still coming during the war.
So interesting.
Those are people that are still coming during COVID because it's family. So we have seen that it's kind of evened out. So yes, when tourism is booming, you can get a lot more money in the real touristy areas. When tourism is slow, it's almost an advantage to be in the more residential areas.
So interesting. You've reminded me of a story. My daughter got married the day after Yom Kippur, right before October 7th, 2023. And we were looking for an Airbnb for my in-laws to stay in for a couple of weeks in Modi'in. It was very hard to find. There was one place that was perfect, but unfortunately it was taken. And then when we ended up finding them something else, and then when we started to talk about where my daughter was going to, and her future husband were going to live, her husband was in the army at the time. Now he's in Miluim. And she was studying in Rehovot, and actually it made sense for her to be near us. So we started looking for a little unit for them, and we couldn't find. And then I had this picture of this Airbnb that I had checked out for my in-laws that was perfect, but it was an Airbnb. And I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I contacted the guy and said, would you consider renting it out long term? And he said, sure. And it was like a win-win situation. It was a beautiful apartment, furnished with appliances, around the corner from us. She ended up being on her own for a long time while he was in the army and studying in Rehovot. And his luck, I mean, nobody was coming into the country for at least 9 months, so it would have sat empty as an Airbnb. So actually, it really worked out very well for all of us.
I actually see that a lot with my clients as well. When they buy the apartment, it's Airbnb, they're going to use it, they're going to come, and then they see that they're not coming as often as they thought they were going to come. Or
they like to stay in a hotel.
No, or like one of them have a parent that got sick, and they're really not going to come very much. And then they switch to long term. It happens a lot.
Happens a lot, yeah. So you're saying it's definitely less of a headache for everybody.
Long term is so much simpler. Yeah.
And money wise, I mean, you feel like you're getting much less, but in the long run,
the bottom line is not much less. Because remember, when you rent an apartment long term, all the bills are moved on to the tenant. Electric, water, arnona, vadbayit. In newer buildings in Jerusalem, vadbayit is not cheap.
Sure.
All that is moved on to the tenant. When you rent short term, all those costs are back onto you before you even start renting. Management fees are higher. Repairs are higher. So yes, the numbers seem like, oh my God, I'm getting so much money. But then when you break it all down after everything's done, it's not clear that it's worth it. Maybe on good months it is, but then you have a couple bad months.
And then a war and then COVID. And
Correct.
Interesting. So I guess my advice to people who are looking to buy something now and not able to make Aliyah yet, maybe rent it out long term. And when the times that you come, either take an Airbnb yourself or stay in a hotel, but then you have that peace of mind and you'll have a home. You have a foothold and it's yours, please God, when you're ready to make Aliyah.
Yeah, this is why every time I get a call about a new apartment, my first question is always, what is your goal with this apartment?
Yeah.
And that's really... because then you can steer people in the right direction so that they make the best decision. But without a clear goal for the apartment, it's hard to decide long term, short term. You have to really understand what the person wants.
Yeah. Okay. That's super important. So I'm assuming with short terms, it's pretty much the same service with the bill payment and the maintenance, repairs, project management.
All of our property management packages are full service. Correct.
Okay. So we don't usually discuss fees on this podcast. Everybody, works differently, but I did notice on your website that you do list the fees. So would you mind telling us a little bit about the typical fees for property management and how they're structured?
Yeah, sure. So for long-term rentals, it's either 650 shekel for unfurnished or 850 shekel for furnished.
This is per month?
Per month.
And this includes what exactly?
Our service, our call service. So
but if something needs repairs...
So then you pay for the repair.
I see.
You pay for
the same way you'd pay for a plumber, an electrician, an air conditioning technician.
Exactly.
And this includes the bill payment and the weekly check and being available and all that.
Correct.
Finding tenants?
Finding tenants is not included in that. Again, we charge half month's rent to find a tenant.
Okay.
But oftentimes it's going to be your realtor. Usually they charge 1 month's rent.
Absolutely. Sure. Okay. So that was, how much did you say? 650?
650 for unfurnished, 850 for furnished.
Okay.
Just because furnished is more work to manage.
So that's another expense to take into account.
Correct.
Everything adds up.
Correct. And then for short-term rentals, we take 850 shekel per month, plus 20% of the rentals.
Okay.
And then, again, this is as of today. Prices obviously change over time.
Of course. But let's say the cleaning service, that's in addition?
Cleaning service is always in addition. And the reason that cleaning service is in addition is because people are very particular when it comes to cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some apartments that we clean for 4 hours no matter what. And the owner said they'll never complain. And we have some apartments we clean for 4 days. And they want to make sure every hanger is dusted and and it's no problem. Put it on a detailed list and we take care of it. But that's why cleaning is not included because there's no way to...
Also, it depends how many guests you have during the month.
How many guests and how detailed the lists are. And some lists are, as I said, very detailed.
Do you have a minimum number of days that guests can stay?
On Airbnbs?
Yeah.
Yes, great question. We keep our minimum to 5 nights, sometimes 7.
It's quite a lot.
It's quite a lot, and we do that on purpose. Because we're not a rental-first company. There are companies that are revenue, rental. That's not our company. We focus also on the care of the apartment. And we find that when people are renting for weekends, Shabbatot, and stuff like that, they oftentimes will rent the place And then it's just one night, right? They'll bring their brother and his kids and their sister and that kid. And then you have 40 people piling into the apartment for a night. They leave and it's destroyed.
It's more work than it is for 5 nights.
And again, we're first and foremost a property management company.
Yeah.
We care about our properties, which is why we see almost no damage to our apartments because we're renting to tourists.
Mm-hmm.
How much are they actually in the apartment? They come,
That's true.
they use it as their home base, and they go out and they do things. As opposed to renting for a weekend when that is the activity, everyone to be in the apartment.
So interesting.
The damage just goes way up. So we have a high minimum because of that, and we're very open with our owners about that beforehand. And we just, as long as everyone's on the same page of what we're looking for.
We rented an Airbnb actually in Yerushalayim a couple of years ago. We try and come for Shabbos Yerushalayim, around Yom Yerushalayim. We found a fabulous Airbnb. It was actually for one night, all the family. I mean, we spent a lot of time outside of the apartment, but the next year we tried to book it, and the guy said, minimum 4 nights, 5 nights also. So
Yeah. It also avoids parties and
Sure. So I was going to ask you whether it's really necessary to hire a management company or if one could just handle things themselves from afar or ask a neighbor to keep an eye on the apartment. But honestly, after this conversation, I think it's pretty clear that it's not even a question. You do so much at City of Gold. For anyone who owns a property in Israel but isn't living here, having a reliable, trustworthy, professional manager on the ground isn't just a convenience, it's absolutely essential. Of course, like anything, it's important to get recommendations, check reviews, and make sure you're working with someone who's experienced and reputable. So, Avi, how does someone go about choosing the right property management company? What should they be looking for? What questions should they be asking before signing on?
Interesting question. There's lots of property management companies. I think that most people, when they first think about a property management company, they think they would prefer an individual. Mm-hmm. Just give me a guy I can call. I know who I'm talking to every time.
There are a lot of individuals who do this.
And I think most people, if you're sitting at home listening to this, you're thinking that's kind of what I would want. And I would argue from the other direction that the advantage of a company is that this person's on vacation, he's sick. When you are part of a larger company, you always have an answer. So if you're interviewing a property management company and you're talking to them and you ask them, hey, 10 o'clock at night, I call because there's an emergency, who's answering? And if the person says, oh, it's always me, well, what happens if your daughter's getting married? Or what happens if, meaning people have lives.
Sure. Things
come up. You're not always available on your phone. And if I show up in my apartment, I'm helpless if there's no power, right? I don't even know who to call. I don't speak Hebrew. So it's important that you do have that the people you're working with have a system in place, have a person they can always talk to.
A backup.
And if it's always one person, although that seems like it's like an advantage, I would argue it's a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. It's probably cheaper.
It could be cheaper. Well, then the next thing is the pricing. What I would say is if it seems too good to be true, then it might be.
Right.
So there are property management companies who work a little bit different than I do, and they charge a much lower monthly fee. And then every single time a technician comes, they add to the price.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they kind of make up the difference. We as a company do not do that under any circumstances.
Avi, this has been such a helpful and eye-opening conversation. I know that so many of our listeners, whether they're already homeowners in Israel or still planning their journey, are walking away with real practical insights that I believe will help them make important decisions. Avi, I mentioned this at the beginning, and I'm going to say it again. I am so impressed with what you do. You've built an incredible team. You give such a high-level professional service. You're able to make a parnasa and give others a parnasa, and you're able to help people who want to find their place in Israel to do it with as little stress as possible. And I know for many people, that are contemplating making the purchase, one of the big things in their head is, what are we going to do? Who's going to manage it? It's just a big headache. And you've shown our audience that it's not only possible, it's actually enjoyable and really kol hakavod.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually recently had a client who signed up with us, and she said to me, I'm selling the apartment. She's like, I just need a solution in the meantime. I'm so fed up. Too much headache. The neighbor leaks, this, that. I'm done. Selling the apartment. I just need someone to hold me over till I can sell it. I said, okay, usually I don't do this, because it's a lot of investment for us to get an apartment off the ground and get it started. I'm like, you know what, fine. I'll do it. And at this point, she's like, all right, I'm not selling it. Like, this
No way.
is what I wanted. This is like, I'm headache free now. Everything's working. I just came. It was great. She's like, I'm not selling it.
Well done.
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's a great story. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I have 2 final questions that I always ask my guests. Where in Israel do you live? Why did you choose that location?
I live in Ma'ale Adumim.
That's a first for our podcast.
Yes. Why did I choose that location? Number one is it was close to Jerusalem. And when I was starting off this business, I was it. And someone called at 10 o'clock at night with an emergency. I was going to deal with it.
So why not live in Yerushalayim?
So I had to be close to Jerusalem. It's very expensive.
Tell me about it.
So that was number one. Number two is view was very important to me. And I have an amazing view from my house. Amazing
towards
view.
Towards the midbar.
I had a wall that I removed and made it all a window. And my whole living room just views onto the mountains. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And if you were to move elsewhere in the country, where would it be and why?
Oh, hands down, Ir Yamim Netanya.
Really?
Oh my God. I spent a month there last summer.
Love it.
It was absolutely incredible.
Really?
Loved every aspect
Tell
of
us.
it.
Tell us what you love so much.
Polig Beach is beautiful. Beautiful.
How far
beach.
is it from Ir Yamim?
Right across. Right. And Ir Yamim, it's not... Oftentimes in Israel, you have places where it's kind of like they built a nice building here, and then a building came up next to it, and then it was kind of like hodgepodge together. Right. And Ir Yamim, there's just a feeling of everything was very planned. You can get to everywhere with these tunnels under the roads, and it's a beautiful path to the beach with a fountain in the middle.
Yep.
Spent a month there. I missed the boat a little bit on pricing there because it's already very expensive.
Oh my gosh, crazy.
But
so what, you took an Airbnb?
We took an Airbnb after a long, difficult viewing period.
I bet you gave the manager some tips.
We rented. No, she's a great manager. Love her. She's great. She's excellent. But it was the best summer we've ever had.
Really? How lovely.
Yeah. So if I could pick a place, it would be Ir Yamim.
Okay. But the population's a little bit older than you, though, no?
Population is much older than me. Like my parents' age and above.
We actually have a beautiful project on our website, Ir Yamim, and a lot of people have been coming through the website interested in this.
Yeah, I'm sure I can't afford it. But
yeah, and we deal with second hands as well, but okay. So from managing a vacation home from overseas to understanding what a good property manager actually does to knowing who is responsible for what as a tenant, we covered a lot of ground, and I am so grateful for your experience and clarity. For anyone listening who's looking for trusted property management in Jerusalem or who has a question on the topic, I'll be sure to include Avi's contact details in the show notes. I must add, there are many different property management companies of all sizes operating across the country. If you're looking for a trusted management company elsewhere or for any other real estate professional services, at Biden Israel, we built a strong network of experienced service providers, and we'd be happy to connect you with someone that we trust. Of course, everything discussed in this episode is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal, financial, or professional advice. For your specific situation, always consult the appropriate expert. Avi, thank you again for being with us today, and thank you all for tuning in. Stay with us for the next episode of On the House, where we'll continue our season on renting in Israel. Until next time, shalom or lehitraot.
Thank you for listening to On the House. A special thanks to Mordechai Gordon, our editor, who makes it all possible. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with family and friends. For more insights, expert guidance, and access to listings and projects across Israel, visit buyitisrael.com. That's BUYIT in Israel.com. Have a question or a topic you'd like Debbie to cover? You'll find contact details in the show notes. Whether you're planning Aliyah, searching for a home or a haven, or looking to support the Israeli economy, now is the time to buy it in Israel.